How can she possibly carry that much sand in her...
The surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder.
HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. What makes Alyssa Milano's call for a sex strike to protect abortion so ridiculous? Let's say you're pro-choice and you've got a pro-abortion argument that you really find persuasive. Think it'll get pro-lifers to change their position? Try replacing abortion with euthanizing insert human demographic here. If the result of that sounds unreasonable, using it for abortion isn't going to reach pro-lifers. How fast would a woman get banned from Twitter if she tweeted in all seriousness about maintaining a sex strike until lawmakers legalize euthanizing schoolchildren who have gotten too fat? It isn't that in the context of the usual pro-abortion positions on when life begins, pro-abortion arguments are wholly irrational. If accepted as true, that underlying assumption that there is some dividing line during gestation before which the gestating organism doesn't constitute a life is a basis for viewing many pro-abortion arguments as perfectly logical. It's that if that underlying premise is rejected, there's no such basis and no such logic. And asserting that society's inability to agree on when life begins justifies erring on the side of it's okay to kill for whatever reason doesn't fly with people who place when life begins at the completion of conception. You can't bargain with people who recognize gestation as a part of life, and pro-lifers do. It's the earliest part, but it's still a part and not some kind of pre-life limbo. Some base that on religion, but many base it on biology, knowing it's a living human organism, not inanimate, dead, or non-human. We have existing scientific criteria for that, and outside the topic of abortion, it's not under any manner or degree of debate that would justify abortion advocates' classification of a gestating baby as non-living, non-human, or part of the mother's body. Philosophical arguments about personhood aren't persuasive against that, even if they're well-designed. Your pro-life listener is going to consider whether those same arguments would make it okay to terminate the life of the kid next door, and would reject them if they would not. Emotional appeals, like victim signaling on behalf of pregnant women, will not change this. Mercenary arguments about government dependence won't either. Those two categories encompass the vast majority of pro-abortion arguments, and neither one outweighs the seriousness of terminating a human life. It's understandable that pro-abortion advocates will not have considered this because just as their arguments fall flat in the context of pro-lifers' conclusions on life's beginnings, in the context of pro-abortion conclusions, those same arguments are flawless, and pro-lifers' points on ethics and morals would also fall flat. Even at the most rational end of the abortion debate, that gap exists. At the bad voter no nookie end, it's a deep, yawning chasm, and the tantrums of feminist zealots on the topic are ludicrous, embarrassing, and discrediting to their position. Think about it. This woman literally advocated emotional blackmail and appears to have expected the closing of temple vagina to sway people's opinions on an issue that has been vigorously and fiercely debated for a century. From a pro-life perspective, she's using sex to demand permission for women to kill their own children. Sounds quite level-headed and mature, doesn't it? Can you imagine why it didn't work?